Did you know that classical music has been shown to increase brain function, boost your productivity, and even enhance creativity? But despite those incredible benefits, classical music is often misunderstood and overlooked in today's world. Welcome to another musical episode of the Spark and Ignite Your Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Beverly Cornell, founder and fairy godmother of brand clarity at Wickedly Branded. I have over 25 years of experience helping hundreds of purpose-driven entrepreneurs awaken their brand magic and boldly bring it to life so that they can magnify their impact on the world. Joining us today is the incredibly talented Robert Emery, an award-winning conductor, pianist, and entrepreneur who has performed with some of the world's most renowned orchestras and musicians. Robert has dedicated his career to making classical music more accessible, engaging, and I can even say it, fun, which is amazing. He is the mastermind behind Classical Connections, the world's largest musical instrument resource, TED's List, and Orchestral Meditations, the first meditation music recorded with a full symphony orchestra. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Beverly. Lovely to be on.
I'm excited to talk to you because my husband and I are former band geeks. I played piano, played flute. I tried the oboe, and to my mother's chagrin, she was like, no, you need to take that back.
The oboe is a special instrument.
Especially for someone who never did a reed instrument. It was a whole nother level. Yeah. And my father plays the guitar. My husband's mother plays the piano. Like, we do music appreciation Saturdays at our house. So we will listen to everything from like Les Mis to the Gypsy Kings, to Dropkick Murphys. We often take our kids to the Symphony. The Symphony is our favorite date, or musical theater, probably our two favorite places. But we have taken our kids to like the 80s done by an orchestra, or Star Wars done by the orchestra. We think it's so important for our kids to understand and appreciate orchestral music and all the different sounds and the way they blend and all of that. We love it, but we are clearly not as talented as you are. Appreciate it, but as talented as you are. So talk about how you got into this space particularly, and you even started performing and touring at the age of 10?
Yeah, that's right. I started playing the piano at the age of 7, and it was an accident. Here in the UK, there was a television program on a Friday night called Top of the Pops, and I'm sure you have something the same in the States. It was a chart-topping program, and it would say back in the 80s for me, or the late 80s, early 90s, what was number one that week. And I would used to listen to whatever was number one, and if I liked it, I would then go to the family piano, which was my grandmother's, that was in our house, and I would just go and start playing it. And as a 7-year-old kid, the nice thing about that is you don't think of it as anything special or unusual or different or slightly freaky. You just go ahead and do it. And after about a year of doing this and just being able to play stuff, my mum went, okay, I think I need to get you lessons now. So I had lessons with a local teacher. And after about a year, so I was 8 by then, she said, I can't do anything more for you. You need more specialist tuition. So then I went to a dedicated music school, which I joined when I was 9. And then I went to the Royal College of Music when I was 17 in London and did 4 years there and graduated when I was 21. But it was always piano. That was my instrument. That's what I was put on this earth to do originally, is play piano. And the nice thing about being a young kid and playing the piano is everybody thinks it's cute and awesome. And so you can go out on tour and a bit of money. So I started doing that when I was 10 and I had a bit of fun with it. And I guess when I was at the Royal College, I came to the realization that piano was far too much hard work and too big a risk to try and make money out of it. And so I should expand my remit and I should go into the world of musical theatre. You mentioned Les Mis. I've worked with Claude Michel Schoenberg, who wrote Les Mis. You mentioned the Gypsy Kings. I worked with the Gypsy Kings on a show called Zorro here in London's West End. So I branched out to musical theatre as well. Love doing that. And then you mentioned Star Wars. One of my last gigs that I was doing was touring Europe and with the music of John Williams, which of course includes Star Wars. And
I could totally fangirl over John Williams.
He's a living legend. He's really a genius. And that's a real word for him. And that was with the Ukraine Philharmonic. We managed to get the Ukraine Philharmonic out of Ukraine. It took them 47 hours to get out of Ukraine on a coach and get into Europe. We met them in Belgium and then toured Belgium, Germany, France, Switzerland. and performed with them all this amazing film music, conducting the orchestra. Music is wonderful. We all listen to it. It's all in our everyday lives. It's all really important to us, whether we realize it or not. If you've ever tried to see Star Wars, there's a great clip on YouTube. If you Google Star Wars without music, there's a fantastic scene that they put in there, removed all the music, and you just have Chewbacca and everybody else on there making silly noises. And it looks like some sort of amateur dramatic society gone wrong. It's really bad. But then you throw the amazing John Williams score underneath it, and all of a sudden it's like this epic thing that's happening on your screen. And that's the power of music. So it doesn't matter if it's musical theatre, if it's film music, if it's Beethoven down the symphony. It's all phenomenal, and it all stems from the same place. And I guess that's what I realized, is that I don't want to just play piano. I'd like to cover much more of a musical world and do different things. So that's what I set out to do.
Once I saw the 80s music from the symphony, I told my husband I never want to listen to non-symphony 80s music again. It's so good. Like, it's so rich, and there's so many tones and sounds. And
having the Eye of the Tiger played with a 60-piece symphony orchestra and a rock band. It's fantastic. I love it.
We get really excited. So our kids, when we took them, it was a family-friendly show, which is amazing. We're from Detroit, so it was through the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. And they encouraged the kids to dance and stuff. And even my younger one, elder son, he's 19 now, but he loves 80s music, and he played the trumpet. He was in musical theater, all the things. I think that those kinds of experiences can really impact their love of music in a way that you didn't even know was possible. My dad played the guitar growing up, and he was in a cover band for the Beatles when he was in school. So he was Paul, and he played all these Beatles tunes and everything. And he graduated in 1970. Yeah, 70. Super fun. And I think of growing up, like, he played the guitar all the time. And I just think of music as literally the soundtrack of my youth. Like, I can associate music and different things associated with different times in my life. It's such a powerful sensory experience that there's actually memories embedded in the music that I hear now. And really, being in musical theater from like 14 to 18, even those scores, they are part of my soundtrack to my youth, right? So when I hear stuff from Brigadoon, or I'll hear something from, we did a show called Runaways, we did Wizard of Oz, we did all these different ones that are so powerful. When I hear them, it takes me back too. So music is so incredibly powerful, and I can't imagine life without it. Like you said, like the scene of Chewbacca, even our lives, how boring they would be without music.
Yep. Completely.
Being in this industry, I'm sure there's some things that frustrate you.
Right. That's a nightmare.
If you could change one thing about how classical music is perceived or marketed, or something that you've done, what would it be?
Classical music, and when I say the word classical, I mean it in a wider sense of anything that is symphonic, or anything that is written essentially either a long time ago or is very niche symphonic now. So it's a wide term to use when you say classical music. And I think the problem I have is it is a complicated art form. There's no doubt about it. Listen to an Ed Sheeran song for 2.5 minutes, and then you put on a Beethoven symphony for 40 minutes. Of course, the Beethoven symphony is going to be more challenging to listen to. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's less rewarding. It just means you have to put in a bit of extra patience and a bit of extra work. But also, that's a bit like saying, if you're going to drive a car, you should only drive a Formula One car or a NASCAR, because, you need to drive 150 miles an hour. No, you don't. You could easily drive a car at 20 miles an hour. And so with classical music, you don't have to go straight into a Beethoven symphony. You could just go to a symphonic concert of John Williams, like we've talked about, or just to start you off. There's some really wonderful, accessible music, which is, inverted commas, classical music. We all know Beethoven's Fifth. It's probably the most famous notes ever written. If that's at your local symphony, go and see it. You'll be bowled away by what you hear. Just go with an open mind. And my biggest bugbear about classical music as a genre is that it has this image of being old, stuffy, complicated, scary, inaccessible. And do you know what? It's not the audience's fault they think that. It's our fault. And when I say our, I mean my fault and all my fellow musicians and all the people who are working in this industry. Because when you're marketing something, you're giving an impression to everybody else what that product is. In my field, the product is classical music. And everybody's giving the impression it's difficult and scary and boring. And I try and desperately fight against that. And so I created this series called Classical Connections. They're short YouTubes, 3 to 5 minutes long each. I play a bit of music. I talk about a bit of an interesting story to do with the composer who made the music. Most of the music is famous. And then I do a bit of dressing up as a composer as well. So I try and make it fun, lighthearted. And it's the idea that you can dip your toe into this. And if you like it, then you can go and investigate a little bit more. And so I try my best to change an angle on classical music, but I alone am not going to achieve that. We all need to do that. And so one of my things is being on podcasts like this, telling the world how classical music can be and is amazing. And everybody who's listening to this should just be brave, go to a concert. If you don't like it, you can always leave halfway in the interval. It's 45 minutes of your life, but I guarantee you won't regret it.
Agreed. We just went to a performance. It was called The Knights, and it was Andrew Lloyd Webber, Sir Elton John, and who was the other one? Oh, Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney. And it was all done orchestral symphony arrangements. And again, like surprising, the classical music, they still played some of that during the performance. They played, I think, 1 or 2 classical pieces that were older, and then they played the Knights. And so this idea of it can be both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be old or even new. And I guess probably for you and I was born in 75, but for us, even like Sir Paul McCartney is probably a little old.
Yeah.
No, vintage, right?
Yeah.
Not classical, he's vintage. But I think about that, even the crossover from those 3 men who created music, how beautiful and how they wove that into a performance and how wonderful it was. So I agree with you. Just go look at your symphonies, what they have coming, and I'll bet you they'll have something modern, they'll have something classical, they'll have something. There's a one that's coming up now that's just percussion. It's more about percussion. And my son, he's 9, and wants to play the drums. That's like his thing. We're probably going to go to that particular thing. But there's something for everyone, essentially, is what I think is great about it. So you'll find one show, I'm sure, that you will be interested in. My husband loves Metallica, and they did a whole orchestral Metallica performance and loved it. Were you part of that? Don't tell me you were part of
it. No, I wasn't actually. Sadly not. But I think that's an excellent idea. I love that idea. I worked with Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, Jim Steinman. We did an orchestral thing of him, and we did a piece of musical theatre as well, which in fact we brought to Broadway, Bat Out of Hell on Broadway. So yeah, they're all amazing people to work with.
It's brilliant, just brilliant musicians. You can take anything and you can add this extra element of a full symphony to it. It's beautiful. I want to hear your story about how you affect people, but I went to a corporate function on team building that was ran by a conductor of a symphony. And he had the band members sit all throughout the place, the venue, separate from each other and not on stage. So sat in the audience, and all of us were to choose to sit next to one of them. And I sat next to a cellist, and he asked us to do several things during the presentation. So the first thing he did is he said, okay, I want you guys to play the music that you learned or whatever, because they had practiced a couple times. That's it. He made a call, and they all came and they practiced a couple times before this particular thing. And they did. And they were kind of like, you could tell, like they were trying to find their collectiveness together as this new group. And then he proceeded to talk about how these were the kids that were stuck in their rooms practicing hours and hours while you were outside playing, and that they were essentially athletes. And he said, watch their body as they play. And he made us like picked apart the entire performance essentially, and made us appreciate all that goes into being a musician, but also how you have to work together and how you have to follow people, and how one small change can make it a funeral march versus a parade of cheer, and like all these different things, and how it can be affected. And essentially, as a corporate person, if you're not working together, or you don't have the same goal, or you don't have the same thing, you're not going to get the result you want, is essentially what he was coming to at the end of it. But it was one of the most profound ways to talk about teams and to talk about how a piece is created and how important a leader is versus even a leader of a section, like the violin section, and how important it is that we do, that the person who's playing the instrument does the work too, practices and all the things. And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And again, a totally different perspective of how a symphony works together and how magical that whole process is, from the athleticism to the dedication to the team that works together to create this beautiful thing at the end of the day, and what a gift you give to the audience. It was beautiful. So tell me a story of how a client or working with a specific group has really helped them. And what's the transformation been like for them? What did it look like? Just a quick pause, my friend. Let's talk about you and your brand. If you've been feeling like your marketing is meh instead of magnetic, or like your message isn't landing with the people who need you the most, it's time to shake things up. That's exactly what we do at Wickedly Branded. We help purpose-driven, service-based entrepreneurs just like you awaken your brand magic, craft a message that connects and captivates, and boldly bring your marketing to life. No more guessing, no more spinning your wheels, just clarity, confidence, and a brand that actually attracts your favorite people. Are you ready to magnify your impact and make your brand wickedly unforgettable? Let's make it happen. Visit wickedlybranded.com to learn more, and let's bring your magic to life. Now, back to the interview.
Music, as we all know, has strange and unusual magical powers, and sometimes you can never quite predict what's going to happen. And I think this is a great lesson in life, actually. I think we all are so busy in this modern age, and we also focus on our screens and what we do. We tend to have this tunnel, and we see what we see, and we blinker out everything else around us, which can be a really useful skill to focus, of course. But I think we're at a danger point of missing out a lot of other opportunities that come to us if we don't open wide our eyes a little bit more. And I'll give you an example. It's not a group of people, it's just one individual. I was at a concert on New Year's Eve in London at the Barbican. I was conducting, and in the front row, I saw this, 12, 14-year-old kid who was having the time of his life. He was conducting in his own little way in the seat. And at the very end of the concert, it was the last concert of the year, I grabbed the microphone. I went down into the audience. Everybody looked a bit confused. And I went and stood next to this young chap, this 12-year-old kid. And I said, would you like to come on stage and stand with me on the podium for the encore? And I can see you there mimicking my movements and pretending to conduct. Would you like to come on stage? And you can have a bit of fun on the podium. And the audience, 4,500 people in the audience went crazy, took him up on stage, onto the podium. And we did, actually, it was a bit of fun. It was the John Williams theme from Superman. It was the encore. So we played that. He was there conducting away. I thought nothing more of it. I thought it was a nice thing to do. It was a nice thing to finish off the evening and the year, in fact. The audience loved it. There are tricks to getting an audience on your side, just like when you're in a business meeting, there are tricks to negotiating and getting people to do what you need them to do. It's the same with performing it. It's exactly the same. People like Taylor Swift up there in a stadium, she knows exactly how to get the audience on her side. It's all a skill. I thought nothing more of this until I had an email the next morning from the parents saying, thank you so much for inviting this young boy, I'm not going to mention his name, on stage. He has severe autism, and this is the first ever concert he's been to. And he rarely talks. He rarely makes any noise whatsoever, and he's normally very insular, and he doesn't smile. Since that concert, he hasn't stopped talking. He hasn't stopped smiling, and he's decided he wants to learn the piano. And we're getting him a piano next week, and it genuinely has changed his life. Now, I didn't plan that, and I'm certainly not taking credit for it because it was just happenstance that I saw him there. I thought it might be a nice thing for him to do, but it shows you not only the power of music, because obviously that's my field, but on a wider sense, you just don't know in life. When you walk into that meeting and you've got one plan and one goal, you just don't know where that road is going to take you. So I think it's always a clever idea just to always have 20% of your mind just open to different ideas, open to different thoughts and opinions, and just to be a bit malleable and flexible, because you just never know what's going to happen.
It's a beautiful story. It gave me chills. It's beautiful. The power of music is just incredible for those kinds of situations. One of my dear friends, his daughter has a brain development disorder, and through music, she has learned to speak in syllables, like beats almost. Wow. And it's because of music that she's been able to find a way to communicate with her family. And it was all, like you said, like by happenstance, like they were listening to some things, and Benji plays the guitar and some other things. And his episode is actually on the podcast. If you're listening, I think he's probably podcast number 2 or 3, but his story is really powerful about how he and his daughter found a way to communicate through the power of music. And I think when you really look at those kinds of base things, like how music can really affect you, it's pretty powerful. My grandfather, he unfortunately had a heart attack and had to be resuscitated when he was 68 years old, and he was considered brain dead. And my grandmother was playing music. He loved Patsy Cline and Johnny Cash and from those eras. And his foot tapped and he was brain dead, but the body still remembered. It's so powerful. I love that story so much. It gave me chills that
That's crazy.
This young man has now been forever influenced and changed from that experience.
Your podcast, your tagline is your marketing. And obviously marketing is something that's around us in the world all the time. Everywhere we look, there is marketing in some way. And I think one of the most powerful techniques I ever learned about marketing is simply called the power of reciprocation. And it's as simple as if you want something from somebody, give them something beforehand. And they will feel obliged to give something back to you. Yeah. Now, I use it on stage. I want that audience to go away going, wow, that was just the best concert I ever went to. I got to go and see this Robert Emery guy again. He was amazing. That's, of course, my musical ego going, that's what I need to happen. And I knew the trick of, if I invited the kid up onto stage with me, I knew the audience would love it. They would fall for it. I didn't know the result of it, but that was the power of reciprocation. That was me saying to the audience, I'm going to do this for you. And in return, I hope that you're going to go home and Google me, and you're going to join my mailing list, go to robertemery.com, and then you'll come to other concerts I do. It's that power of reciprocation. I'm on stage, I'm marketing myself, I'm marketing the symphony, I'm marketing classical music. It's what I do day in, day out. It's why I'm here. And it's all about the power of reciprocation. So I think it's just the most useful thing to know. And the second tip that I can give, which is just so common sense, it's crazy. And so many people don't know it. It's that you mimic the person that you are working with, or that you're negotiating with, or that you're talking to. And you mimic them. It makes them feel comfortable. So if they're talking loud and excited and animated, then you talk like that. If they're very chilled and laid back and slow, then you be like that. Help them. You get yourself onto their wavelength. And it's such an obvious, simple persona element to use. And it's amazing that most people don't know about this. And that goes for your marketing. You've got your own audience. Maybe it's, 18 to 20-year-olds. So they're probably going to be more energetic than your 60 to 70-year-olds. So make sure that you're reflecting that. But if your audience is 60 to 70-year-olds, make sure you're reflecting that too. None of it is rocket science. None of it is complicated. It's just about trying to remember to use all these techniques. I do that on stage every day. Other people do it in a meeting. It's the same thing.
That's a pretty grand meeting that you have when you are in front of an orchestra.
That is true. I am lucky.
Yeah, I think the orchestra and the performance side of it is such a give and take and experience with an audience. Like, you need the audience to be with you. And there's something about that for sure. And in marketing, you need your audience with you. Otherwise, your message is going to land flat. Totally. Yeah. The concept of mirroring is so powerful when you talk about understanding where your audience is from, especially in person when you meet them. When I was first starting out in sales and marketing a long time ago, when I worked for Chrysler advertising, I was taught that philosophy, and I did not drink coffee, but I always accepted coffee if they drank coffee.
Yes.
And I would just like not even sip, but just put it to my mouth
Yeah.
because it was an immediate way for them to say, oh, she's like me.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and there's a lot of you can do that just make people feel more comfortable with you.
Sure.
A lot of it, I just worry. I never want to be inauthentic. So I was like, moved a little bit away from some of that. But I certainly, when someone leans forward, you lean forward. When someone leans back, you can lean back. There's a lot of that can happen in communication that's really powerful. I would agree with you completely on that. So as an entrepreneur, which you have such a unique side of things, in the music industry, I feel it's like probably a really challenging industry.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenge of your career and how have you overcome it?
I had two or three real big sort of themes of challenging.
Hey there, you've just finished part 1 of the Sparking at Your Marketing episode. How are you feeling? Excited, inspired? But we're just getting started. Next Tuesday, we're dropping part 2 and you won't want to miss it. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter so you'll be the first to know when it goes live. Until then, take a breather. Let those ideas simmer and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into the Spark and Ignite Your Marketing podcast. I hope you found today's conversation or activation to be something clear and actionable that you can take back to your very own business. If you found this helpful, I'd love it if you take a moment to share your thoughts in a review. Not only does this help us see what's working and what you'd like to hear more of, but it also helps other business owners just like you find the sparks that they need. And if you know someone who could use today's tips, why not share this episode with them? A little inspiration can go a long way, and together we can help more people simplify their marketing and make their business shine.